Hello people, this is a video on calculating the surface area of pyramids, cones and spheres. Hello people, this is a video on the surface area of pyramids, cones and spheres. So a pyramid is a solid object where all the sides are triangles and they meet at the top at one point. Now we often think of square-based pyramids where the base is a square, but really with a pyramid the base can be any polygon. It can be a hexagon, it could be a rectangle. The sides are always triangles though. If it's a regular or a right pyramid, that means that the base is a regular polygon, so all the sides of the base are the same. And if that's the case, that means that all the triangles will be the same. So when we're calculating the surface area of a pyramid, you can think of it simply as calculating the area of the base and then calculating the area of all of the sides. There is a formula to use when all the side faces are the same, and that is that the surface area is the base area plus half of the perimeter times the slant length. So let's do an example. We've got a pyramid here, and the surface area of this pyramid, because all the side faces are the same, and we can tell that by all the little dashes on the sides, they're the same, the surface area is going to be equal to the base area plus half times the perimeter times the slant length. Now it's important here to note that when we're talking about the perimeter, we're talking actually about the perimeter of the base, not the perimeter of the whole shape. So let's use that formula. So the surface area is going to equal the base area, so the base area is length times width plus half times the perimeter times the slant length. Now the slant length is actually the height of the pyramid, so it's that direct height there. So before we can actually calculate the surface area, we have to calculate what that length is, and you can simply do that using Pythagoras Theorem. If we've got, if we, instead of drawing that whole side, we just draw half the side. So I'm going to draw half this side here. Just that little bit in there, which you notice is a right angled triangle. And so I've got the length of that. The length of that side is 20 meters. The length of the base of that is going to be 24 meters divided by 2, so that's going to be 12 meters. And I want to find the slant height or the slant length, and that is going to be that side there. So to do that, I'm going to use Pythagoras Theorem. 20 squared is going to equal 12 squared plus the slant length squared. So therefore the slant length squared equals 20 squared, take 12 squared, and therefore the slant length is the square root of 20 squared, take 12 squared. And that is equal to 16 meters. So now that we've done that, we can actually use the formula to calculate the surface area. It's going to equal the length times the width. So we've got actually a regular polygon here, and its side lengths are all the same. So our length is 24 meters, and we're timesing that by 24 meters again. So we go 24 times 24, and then because it's the area of a square in this case, if it was the area of the hexagon, you'd actually have to find the area of the hexagon. So that's our base area. Then we do half times the perimeter. Now the perimeter is again the perimeter of the base, so that's 24 plus 24 plus 24 plus 24, or 4 lots of 24. And then we're doing that times the slant length. So you can simplify that a bit, or you can just go straight to the answer, which is 1344 meters squared. Note that we're doing areas, so that the formula is meters squared. So that's calculating the surface area of a pyramid. Now we talk about calculating the surface area of a cone. And there's two different questions you can get for this. One is if you've got a hollow cone which doesn't have an end on it. So you think about a party hat, no bottom on it. The surface area of that is pi r times s, where s in this case is not actually that length we talked about before. S is the side length here. Then you can talk about the area of the surface area of a solid cone, where it actually does have that base on it. So as you can see, it's got that base there. So you have to do pi r s, which is the area of the cone bit, plus pi r squared, because that's the area of the circle up above. So if we've got a question like this, and I'm just going to use the formula and assume and always assume it's a solid cone unless it says otherwise. I'm going to calculate the area of this solid cone. So my area is going to be pi r s plus pi r squared. Now when you're doing this, you have to make sure that what you are given is actually r, is actually the radius. If you look here, what we've been given is 6 meters, and 6 meters is the length across that entire circle through the center. So that's the diameter. So our radius is going to equal 6 over 2, which is 3 meters, because our radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. And now we've got all the relevant information. We've got pi times by the radius times by the slant length, which is 5, plus pi times by the radius squared. And so that is going to equal 75.398 meters squared. Final thing is the surface area of a sphere. Surface area of a sphere is a very simple formula. It's the area equals 4 over pi r squared. Now, if you think about it though, this can be applied to shapes where we've got one or two shapes or even more than that going on. And so I'm going to do another example here. It's not exactly the area of the sphere, but it's going to incorporate it. As you can see here, we've got a cone with a hemisphere on the top. It's like an ice cream. So we've got half a sphere. So this is half a sphere here. And then we've actually got a hollow cone here because we don't actually get to see the top of the cone. So we're going to use the formula for the hollow cone, and if you look back at your notes, formula for the surface area, and we usually use AS for surface area of the hollow cone, is pi r s, and then we've got the formula for a sphere, which is 4 pi r squared, but because we're doing the surface area of a hemisphere, which is half a sphere, we're just going to divide that by 2. So if you had a shape like this, you could just go straight to the formula pi rs plus 2 pi r squared. And so what you end up doing then is just putting all your values in. Now remember, when we're doing the formula for the volume of the cone, the slant length is, or the s side is actually the side over there. So we're just going to do pi times r. Now r is going to be half of 12 times 6 times 10 plus 2 times pi times 6 squared. And then we'd calculate that value, which is approximately 414.7 centimeters squared. So we've talked about area of the surface area of the pyramid, cone, and finally of a sphere.